we're using the vertical line test to determine whether a relation is a function. The vertical line test is basically saying we're going to check to see that at some input value, we don't get more than one resulting output value. So you can draw a vertical line anywhere. Here you can see that we're checking at -2. If we plugged in -2, what do we get for an output? We don't actually have any outputs for -2. And it appears in this situation that that's not part of the domain. That's not a number that's getting plugged in. We're not plugging that in and getting a resulting value. But let's take a look at 1 here. Here at 1, let me do that to get really a perfectly good vertical line. At 1, you can see, I'm going to mark it here in green, you can see that when we plug in 1 for x, we get out both 1 for y and -1 for y. We should never be having more than one output value. Your vertical line, when you draw it, should never be going through the curve or the line, whatever's graphed there in red, more than once. If it's going through it more than once, that means that we're getting 2 outputs or more, depending. In this case, we're getting 2 outputs for the input of 1. We're getting an output of 1, 1 and an output of 1, -1. And so basically, at any input value, like I drew that vertical line at 1, you can say, okay, then that is like 1, what? What do we get out? 1, 1. That's the coordinates right there, 1, 1. So that says that we plugged in 1 for x, we got out 1 for y. And again, we plugged in 1 for x, and then later we got out -1 for y. So those are the 2 coordinates, the input and its resulting output, the input, its resulting output. We have different outputs, so we can say that this is not a function. And I'm just going to get this out of here. If you can draw that vertical line anywhere, in even one place, and it goes through more than once, it is not a function. So let's write it. We will say, no, not a function. Okay, and let's try it again over here. Let's do a vertical line. If we draw a vertical line here, oops, sorry. If we draw a vertical line here, we see it only going through once right there. If we drew another vertical line, let's say here, and by the way, it does not only have to be at whole number values, as long as it's a perfectly vertical line. There, we see it's only going through the graphed line at one place. Do it again. If we did it there, you can see that we're only going through the graph line right there. And we can do this over and over and over, but you should be able to take a look at the line that's graphed and see that there's not going to be any place where we can actually put a vertical line and it'll go through it twice. So you don't need to keep writing it over and over again. What you really should do, though, is if it fails, they say that it fails or passes the vertical line test. If it fails the test, and it's because you draw a vertical line, it goes through it more than once, then that's where you really want to draw it if you're drawing something just to show, look, at the value that I drew it at, and in our particular case, that value is the input value of 1, because here's 0, 1, 2. So this is an x value of 1. If you put a vertical line there, it's going to fail the vertical line test by crossing through the curve more than once there and there. But for ours over here, you can see that there's no place where we can draw that vertical line, and it's going to go through it more than once. So we can say, yes, function. We call that good, and we're done.